What is up, beautiful people? Kirby Hasseman here with a brand new DMJ one-on-one. We're trying to deliver you just a little bit more marketing joy. Today, we're going to tackle a big topic for me, and it's how much does a custom t-shirt cost? I'm going to tell you a lot of the questions you need to answer in order to answer that question and kind of dig as deep as I can to make this a subject that you understand a little better so that you're more educated and can really understand the quotes that you're getting and how much an actual shirt should cost you. Now, if this is providing you some value, please feel free to subscribe to the podcast, to rate the podcast. If you can give it a 5-star review, then more people will find it. Hopefully it will deliver marketing joy to many, many more people. So I appreciate you doing that today. So the big question, what does a custom t-shirt cost? A branded t-shirt, t-shirts are one of the most iconic pieces of branded merchandise. I think, for me, I think it's one of those things that you have that concert t-shirt that takes you back, that t-shirt that you're proud to wear because it really signifies that you're a part of a specific tribe. It's like the closest thing to a tattoo without doing a tattoo. If you put somebody's logo on your chest, you are endorsing them, and it's a powerful piece of branded merchandise. And done right, it's the kind of thing that gets worn over and over again for years and years and years. So if you're going to do it, you want to do it right. The problem is those of us who are in the promotional products or branded merch world, we get questions like this all the time. And the question, that sounds like it's simple is, well, how much does a custom t-shirt cost? How much does a branded t-shirt cost? The problem with this, it's a little bit like saying, how much does a car cost? Right? Because there's so many variables. Obviously, there's more variables in a car, so bear with me on that. But there are so many variables in order to answer that question. So what I want to do today is break down sort of 5 of the variables that will kind of help you understand what you're asking for and where the pricing sort of comes from. So let's start with material. What kind of material? That's sort of the first question that you should be asked if you're working with somebody. So there's several different kinds of t-shirts. So there's cotton-based t-shirts. So you've got your 100% cotton, you got your 50-50 cotton. I think those are sort of the traditional t-shirt that you see, what I call the traditional promotional t-shirt. These are often the less expensive t-shirts. They're good quality t-shirts, many of them. So, it's just like anything else. You've got your low end and your high end of the spectrum on a cotton t-shirt. So there's nothing wrong with them, but those are the ones you're going to see when at a trade show where they're handing out t-shirts or whatever like that. Those are, if you're trying to create a custom t-shirt that is affordable, one of the ways to do that is with a cotton-based t-shirt, in my opinion. Number 2 would be a tri-blend t-shirt. You're seeing a lot of this style of t-shirt. This is where, when I'm meeting with customers, I feel like those are the ones where people say, I want one of the soft t-shirts. These are the ones that you often are seeing retail. And then the tri-blend means it's made of 3 different kinds of material, and it often creates a more soft feel. So when people say they want a soft t-shirt, they want something that is going to last, but it has that feel where people want to put it on over and over again. A tri-blend is a little bit more expensive often, and I think a much better quality t-shirt. I will tell you, most of the time, if I'm looking for a t-shirt for my company, a tri-blend t-shirt is where I'm leaning toward. I just like the feel of them better. But it's not the only one other than cotton t-shirts. The other one I call performance t-shirts. These are more of the polyester, the high polyester blend. So the ones that you've seen at race events, things like that. They're great for sporting events. They wick sweat really well. There's some real positives to the performance t-shirts, the polyester t-shirts, but each of those cost different. So understanding when you're getting a quote, when you're giving a quote, is it a cotton t-shirt? Is it a tri-blend t-shirt? Is there a performance t-shirt? There are other styles of t-shirts, but those, if you I would say that's a big portion of the kinds of t-shirts that you might be printing on. So the first question is, what kind of material are we printing on? The next question is, and this is a big one, folks, how is that being decorated? There's quite a few different standard decoration techniques, and so let's go over those. Number one is that traditional screen printing. That's what you see on so many t-shirts. And there's ways to do that screen printing. Screen printing is where you take it, you're essentially painting the t-shirt, right? You take it, you screen it on there. Then each time there is a color, you have to create a new screen. You have to create a new kind of swipe over the t-shirt. I think, again, for those promotional t-shirts, it's a very affordable way to imprint those t-shirts. That's where a lot of those bands got into making their own t-shirts, because they got a little screen print machine and they were able to do it for themselves. So traditional screen printing is a very normal way of doing t-shirts. Next would be embroidery. Now you can see embroidery on my quarter zip that I'm wearing right now. Now, I don't necessarily love embroidery on t-shirts, but again, some people do. I love embroidery on other pieces, but for me, it's not. Just because a t-shirt tends to be a lighter quality, a lighter material. And so that backing on an embroidery, I think sometimes you can feel that you can't necessarily feel on a screen print. Sometimes you can if you lay it on too heavy, but you get what I'm saying. Embroidery is great. It lasts. But I think on t-shirts sometimes it puckers. It's just not an ideal, but that's another decoration technique that can be used on t-shirts. Next up might be the heat transfer. Heat transfer is one of those that you've seen in the past where it's a kind of a vinyl cutout and you put it onto the t-shirt and then you heat press it down and it puts it on there. It's a great way to do full color because you're actually sort of printing a sticker and then pressing it onto the t-shirt. You can do some dynamic designs. Those are great. But it doesn't always last quite as well. You've seen those t-shirts that we did, if you're my age, we did them back in high school, we did them back whatever. They tend to start to crack and show their wear over a period of time. But if you're looking for something that you got to do low quantity of, or you want to do something fairly affordable, heat transfer is another way to decorate t-shirts. Next up, direct to garment. So direct to garment, DTG as it's often called, they can be a great way to print t-shirts in the right situation. So direct to garment, they're literally printing directly on the t-shirt. So think of like your inkjet printer and how it prints on a piece of paper. Direct to garment is sort of like that. Now, the advantages of direct to garment is you can do all kinds of amazing designs. You can do those gradients. You can do those full color. It can print, like I said, directly on the t-shirt. The downside is it's generally limited to the kind of material you can print on. So DTG generally works best on cotton shirts. So also the cost of DTG is definitely higher most of the time than traditional screen printing. Now it does give you advanced color availability. So there's advantages and disadvantages, but that's another one, DTG or direct to garment. And the final kind of decoration technique I'm going to talk about is sublimation. Sublimation is something that we actually do in-house here, where sublimation, it's like a process where it utilizes the heat to transfer the dye into the fabric. So again, it's got its positives and negatives. Sublimation can be a little bit more expensive, but you can do full color onto it and you can do much lower minimums. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons it can be more expensive because you're often doing sort of one at a time, one-off kind of things. But you can do some dynamic designs with gradients and cool stuff like that. Another advantage is you're not going to feel that decoration. On screen printing, you can literally often feel the decoration with your fingers. You're not going to feel that on sublimation. The other downside to sublimation is you really need to do it on a lighter kind of fabric, a light gray. Those darker fabrics it won't work on. And also sublimation, you need to use a higher polyester blend because it just won't work as well with the cotton. So again, lot to get into here, which is why it's so hard to answer, hey, what does a custom t-shirt cost? But that second question is, how is it being decorated? Third question, how many do you need? This is the one that's pretty straightforward. I think most people understand that it costs more to do one than it costs to do 500, right? Now, different decoration techniques can be different, better for higher or lower quantities, right? Like, so in our office, sublimation is something we can do at a very low quantity, whereas screen printing, you're usually wanting to get to that 24, 36, 48 piece, and then it becomes very, very, very cost effective. So how many do you need is that third question. Fourth question, What sizes? Most t-shirts, as they are priced in catalogs, as you see them online, most of them are priced small through XL, and that's great. The challenge with that, of course, is that those larger sizes are not included in that same price, and they often cost not only a little bit more, but often a lot more, depending on the style of shirt, depending on the item, and all that sort of thing. So understanding that if you are in an organization that has a lot of bigger folks, that the t-shirts are going to cost more. That's nobody's trying to rip you off. It's literally the cost of the t-shirt goes up. There's more fabric, all that sort of thing. And so just understanding that 2X, 3X, 4X, 5X, 6X, whatever it is, those are going to cost more. And often that price goes up per size. So your 2X might be $2 extra. Your 3X might be $3 extra. 4X, you get the idea. It goes up with each sizes. So understanding that there is a difference per size, like the sizes that you're going to do, is important as well, because then you aren't surprised with that final bill, because I have seen people get surprised. And then the final question that your distributor should be asking you need to understand for yourself is, how fast do you need them, right? The reality of it is, I always say that you can get them right, you can get them fast, you can get them cheap. You get to pick 2 out of the 3. So if you want your custom branded t-shirts to be as inexpensive as possible, you want to give yourself time. How long? It really depends on the printer, but man, I wouldn't go less than 2 to 3 weeks. Obviously, the more you can give, the better, because they're not going to have to rush services. They're not going to have to jump your job in front of somebody else. Giving yourself time, and by the way, that's true of every branded merch project. Just give yourself enough time to properly plan this out. Done right, t-shirts can be so powerful. And honestly, I talked about decorating techniques. One of the reasons that you wear t-shirts probably are because of comfort, because of a memory, and because of the design. Those are kind of the 3 things. And so if you try and rush those things, then you might be limited on the kind of t-shirts you can get, the design that you have time to do, and the decoration that you have time to put it on. So understanding how fast you need them really is going to play a role, not only in the cost of the t-shirt, but really the quality of the project at the end. So at the end of the day, you might be asking yourself, okay, great, you've told me all this stuff. How much does a t-shirt cost? And that's the challenge. It's really, really hard to answer. Depending on the material and the decoration technique, and depending on all of those things, you might have a t-shirt that costs anywhere from $6 to $20, and maybe even more than that. Again, it really does depend. But the thing I would tell you is arming you with this information so that you know the questions to ask and you know what those expectations are will help you not only understand the cost better when you're budgeting, but also get the right t-shirt for the right project. And that hopefully will make a big difference in your branded merchandise efforts. I hope this has been helpful to you. If it has, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, or wherever you're listening to this, please feel free to share it. And of course, if you could rate the podcast, that would bring me great joy. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.